Thanks so much, Ned. My name is Brian Dunhill. I'm the founder of Dunhill Financial, not very originally named, but we are an American expat financial advisory firm. We're based here in London, and we take care of clients all around the world. Shivan, we don't have any in South Africa yet, so we might have to talk to you. But Robert, too highly regulated in Canada for us to deal over there. But we do Australia, we do Asia, all throughout Europe, and the such. So we help with those American expat issues, and we're looking forward to working with a lot of the fintechs, including Bamboo, to try to build the best robo-advisor so that we don't have to have minimums for those American expats.
There you go. And Brian, while it may not have been originally named, it's not a name you can forget who the boss is. So at least you got that in your favor. So let's jump on to the first question. Brian, why don't we start with you? You're dealing with American expats. America, I love America. It's an amazing place, but it can be a confusing place to invest, particularly from overseas. How has digital and how has your business evolved over these past few years?
Absolutely. The change has really gravitated in 10 years from a paper-based format into this fully online presence. It's only been really in the last year that we've been able to connect with all of our clients via remote access because we've had to. But the most important thing that I find that we've had to concentrate on is making things as intuitive as possible. And where it's not intuitive, be able to connect somebody on our team with those individual clients that are not having that intuitive process throughout in that process. Because essentially what might be intuitive to one of us that's financially minded might not be as intuitive to them as the client, yet we don't want to be condescending to each and every one of those clients. We also find that whenever we're trying to deliver, whether it be statements, an online version, online portals, or anything else, there's very much that Goldilocks paradigm that sometimes there's a little bit too much information, sometimes there's not enough, and we're trying to get it to be just right. So we need to customize those for the different clients. If we're looking at sometimes our emerging affluent, our smaller clients that we know are developing up, we don't need to put all those financial planning tools in front of them right off the bat. We need to get the basics of investing in front of them. Whereas when we have our clients that are getting closer to retirement, it's probably more important to get those financial plans in front of them than it is all the details of what their investments are actually in. So it's customizing it, but getting it just right for that personalization. The last thing that I would say is so important to all of our clients nowadays. Now, I think the last time we polled, it was nearly 80%. It was in a high importance level for them of being socially responsible. And we need to start customizing those types of aspects because it's easy to say we want to be socially responsible, but social responsibility to myself might mean that the environment needs to be put first. Whereas other clients of ours will say labor relations or governance. So we want to customize their portfolios because this is their life's work that they have put together, and using the technology to do that is the best way that we can go ahead and arrange it.
I mean, Brian, how does that resonate? I mean, I think, look, we're all on the same path of making it digital, but how does that resonate with you guys? And I say with respect, Dunhill's, you're a smaller organization. How do you approach it?
Absolutely. And I think Robert identified some really key factors, especially amongst the younger crowd. When it comes to financial planning, to give somebody a stale piece of paper that all of a sudden you can't adapt any of the variables, it becomes something that you read once, you put it on the side, and it's not something that somebody wants to play with. Where all of a sudden, if you're able to get on the back end where the client can go in there and they can say, well, what if I go ahead and I send in 1,000 euros a month instead of 500 euros a month? Can I retire early? You get all these concepts, you keep hearing the FIRE concept where you're going to put money away for a short period of time and retire really early. And all of a sudden being able to give somebody those variables and give them the ability to play with them themselves, that gives them that great ability to conquer all of the obstacles themselves, but then come back with great questions for us to where we can get them over the hump. And we've done the same type of of aspects on that. But we also want to make sure that our back ends are synchronized. To me, those silly little functions, I think we have over 12 fintechs that we have working on in the background. And half the time when we send something to the client, we ask them their name and their email address. Being able to just synchronize all of that, those aspects, make it so much easier for the client and make the experience much better for the client. So making everything sing together and work together is right now one of our big initiatives, so that we're not having to double up on functions. We answered. The closer we get to it, we'll get new questions that come about for it. This last year in the pandemic, we had a great example. We've been on a 5-year trajectory to being a fully socially responsible firm. And yet when we had to move quickly, we jumped out of real estate and we went into e-commerce. Looking back at it, well, that was the obvious choice. But one of the companies that we bought in e-commerce was Amazon. Now, when I interpret social responsibility and ESG, I think of the environment mostly. Well, my clients told me very loudly that that was incorrect, and buying Amazon was not the right thing. They thanked me for the fact that they made a quick profit on it, but they weren't so excited about having Amazon. So we reflected on this in saying, we have not been asking the correct questions. We've been interpreting ESG in our regards. And we basically put out a questionnaire to all of our clients saying, what is your interpretation with ESG? So that we can try to decipher from one customer to the next what we should be buying inside of their portfolio and what should be allowed and what should not be allowed. Should we be looking more at labor or governance or the environment for any individual customer? And we want to go even further down into certain regards to where if certain types of engineering or sciences are more important to individuals, that we can put a slice, but it doesn't affect the overall allocation of the portfolio, that we don't start taking too much risk on part of one client versus another, but that they can have a personalized portfolio that they care about. And that just means that we have to go off the model allocations onto some of the customizable effects, but bridging the two so that we're able to manage it on a bigger scale.
And you found that's resonated with your customers? You found that using that has made a big difference?
Absolutely. The more you start talking about the portfolio from what they're passionate about instead of just returns, well, first of all, they love it because they feel passionate about what's going on in the portfolio. But it's nice for us because we've got to remember 3 out of those 10 years, we're going to have to deal with markets going down. So if the concentration is that they're passionate about their portfolio, it's much easier to have those conversations.
We're coming towards the end of the panel. Maybe give a minute or two to give maybe just a summary, like where are we in the whole changing of digital wealth? What is the summary? What's your kind of thoughts of where we are now and where we're going in the next 5 to 10 years?
I think Robert hit the nail right on top of the head, and behavioral economics are going to really drive those same tendencies. I don't think technology really changes us as human beings. It speeds things up. So we end up doing the same silly things. Think of the tulip trades 400 years ago to Bitcoin today. I might have offended some of your viewers right there, so I apologize. But at the end of the day, we're going to behave in those same ways. I think technology is really going to help us go more from the financial planning model of yesteryear, where we all showed up in our fancy suits, et cetera, to more of a gym model, where we're going to have that accessible point that's pretty much $10 for the month, and then you're going to have that personal trainer, and everybody's going to have those access points. And I think that's a wonderful thing that big institutions, small institutions are going to be able to offer both of those different service levels to help people get better organized and make finance accessible to everyone, just like fitness is accessible to everyone. I
love that analogy. The only question is then, fitness gyms soar after New Year because people have eaten too much. I wonder if we'll find some analogy whereby people will rush to finance apps at a certain time.
We actually said that exact thing in our January economic update, that everybody was going to be rushing to do their financial plan just because it's the beginning of the year. And I don't know about you gentlemen, Shivan and Robert, but we had a very busy time up until May. And I'm expecting it to die down over summer. Maybe that's just a European function of everybody disappearing for the summer.